Hello and welcome to this short video that presents my recent paper, The Company I Keep is Not Corporate Enough, Exploring the Specificities of University Startups. Now published in the Journal of Technology Transfer. The paper is open access and free to download from the link in the text box below. And as you have probably guessed, the title is inspired by the lyrics of the track If You Know, You Know by Pusha T. The paper asks the following question: if universities produce the best scientific research, should university startups produce the best entrepreneurs? Universities are widely considered to be the best place where the best scientific research is done. So, if the best new scientific ideas are found at universities, does this mean that university startups can bring these new innovative ideas to market? There is a lot of interest from policymakers and government officials in the promise of university startups. However, the available evidence from previous empirical research suggests that university startups do not, on average, have superior performance outcomes. This paper tries to go into the issue in more depth, surveying the many reasons why university-based entrepreneurs are different from other entrepreneurs, such as entrepreneurs spinning out from large firms, referred to here as corporate startup entrepreneurs. A variety of theoretical angles are taken, trying to go deeper into what makes university startup entrepreneurs so unique. They differ in so many ways in terms of entrepreneurial motivations, employment conditions, attitudes to promotion, university culture, the pursuit of win-win opportunities as opposed to engaging in zero-sum games, dealing with regulatory uncertainty and legal grey areas, aversion to routinized bureaucratic activities, attitudes towards management tasks such as direct monitoring, firing colleagues, characteristics of the knowledge base, endowments that they bring to the startups, and so on. University startup entrepreneurs are in an enviable position. They enjoy the generous encouragement, options, and resources from the university where they were previously employed. University employees are encouraged to pursue innovative ideas in the spirit of what is referred to as opportunity entrepreneurship, and they are less likely to engage in lifestyle entrepreneurship because working conditions at a university already give them relatively large amounts of autonomy and freedom. Despite these advantages, however, university startup entrepreneurs are still often observed to underperform when compared to corporate startup entrepreneurs. One issue that is often mentioned is that university startup entrepreneurs are out of touch with customers. This paper argues that learning about user needs is not rocket science. It is not out of the reach of motivated entrepreneurs. There is a sophisticated literature on the lean startup approach and scaling up, for example, that gives clear guidelines on how to experiment with the market and learn about demand and user needs. University startup entrepreneurs are capable of learning about user needs and market demand, but this will require dedication and lots of hard work. Another problem is that university startup entrepreneurs might tend to withdraw and focus on problem-solving activities in their narrow domains, rather than sticking with the repetitive work of staying focused on short-term business performance. University startup entrepreneurs tend to yield power and important decision-making to non-academic co-founders, and sometimes to such an extent that their non-academic co-founders get annoyed with them. It can be hard work and potentially boring work to stay focused on commercialization and to leave their academic curiosity to one side. This table compares three groups of entrepreneurs: university startup entrepreneurs who are tenured, those who are not tenured, and corporate startup entrepreneurs that come from a large established private firm. Entrepreneurs from universities receive considerable support from their universities, and in many cases they can take their patents and intellectual property rights with them. If things don't work out, they can often come back to their previous jobs at the university. In fact, many university startup entrepreneurs can keep their university jobs at the same time as focusing on their startups. All the cards are stacked in favour of giving university employees the support they need to explore an innovative business idea if such an idea comes along. Furthermore, university employees would not feel the need to start up a business for lifestyle reasons because their university context already gives them benefits such as autonomy and being one's own boss. Things are very different for corporate startup entrepreneurs. Their parent organisation will often try to block their attempts to spin out their new startups and will not welcome them back in the event that their new venture fails. Instead, the cards are stacked towards corporate startup entrepreneurs to start their new business for lifestyle motivations such as the need for autonomy and to escape from a bad boss. Academic entrepreneurs differ in many ways regarding their culture, norms, and characteristics. One difference relates to how they deal with regulatory ambiguity. Individuals with scientific training, such as university startup entrepreneurs, often develop a mindset in which precision and accuracy are paramount, resulting in a tendency to stay well within the letter of the law. Managers with experience in private sector firms, in contrast, especially those with entrepreneurial experience, are more likely to experiment and interpret rules more flexibly. The following quote from a corporate startup entrepreneur is illustrative. There is a saying, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. So sometimes we were like, why not launch a product? And if the government says blah blah blah, we could say, oh, we are sorry, but just to try if the market is there. This approach is quite different from the way that university startup entrepreneurs tend to think. There are a number of areas in which academic norms are in direct contrast to entrepreneurial norms. This makes it harder for academics to take on the mindset of an entrepreneur. One such academic norm is communalism, the sharing of knowledge for the public good. This is in direct contrast to the entrepreneurial norm of private property, whereby knowledge is hoarded and exploited for private gain. Then there is the academic norm of disinterestedness, which is the lack of emotional or financial attachments to one's work. This is different from the entrepreneurial norm of passion, which is a tenacity and vision for the venture. And there is also the academic norm of organized skepticism, the need to wait for all the facts to come in before making judgments. This contrasts with the entrepreneurial norm of optimism, having an optimistic mindset to foster resilience, to encourage contagious motivation, and to have a deep conviction that your entrepreneurial venture will succeed against all the odds. University startup entrepreneurs may enjoy the challenge of scientific problem solving and dislike the short-term focus of startups. At the company, you have to be so focused on applications, you can't really do basic science. One interview in Jane et al. 2009 explained things in these terms. When I was at university, I was working on 20 different things and having a lot of fun. Once I went into a startup environment, I necessarily had to focus my effort. You can't afford to work on things that are not offering commercial value in the near term. University startup entrepreneurs therefore need to be mentally prepared for the reality of starting a business that, alongside the adrenaline and excitement of seeing your startup take off, there is also a need for focus, the necessity to ignore distractions, and the huge amount of mundane and repetitive tasks that will continually require your attention. Perhaps because of the aversion of academics towards mundane repetitive tasks and the need to stay focused on the short term, academics are often perceived to have poor management skills. Roach and Sauerman present some relevant quotes. Many scientists are not good at starting up businesses, says one respondent. Professors are awful managers and don't try to improve, says another. Good management is not rocket science, and in many cases it corresponds to the diligent and continuous practice of activities such as monitoring employees and tracking their performance, discussing work targets, keeping records of problems in production processes, and so on. Academics might tend to be sidetracked towards intellectually satisfying puzzles rather than staying focused on the repetitive application of mundane management tasks. It is useful to think in terms of the linear model of innovation, which describes the process from basic research to applied research to development to production and finally to commercialization and sales. University startup entrepreneurs might draw on ideas from basic research, and their knowledge and experience might be relatively far removed from the final users on the market. This is a disadvantage compared to corporate startups and of course user startups, but it is generally not considered to be an insurmountable problem. In the entrepreneurship literature, there are many guidelines and checklists for how to experiment in the market and test your hypotheses and learn about user needs. But this will require focus and attention from academic entrepreneurs who might not want to spend too much time on these activities. Figure 2 in the paper considers the dynamics of how university-based entrepreneurs and industry-based entrepreneurs might interact and form collaborative founding teams. It starts with basic research in academia, which in some cases will lead to a promising new idea, but in most cases will not. In the case where academic research does not lead to a successful business idea, the costs of failure will be borne by academia. If there is a successful innovative idea, then academic entrepreneurs may get in contact with industry partners who might be interested in bringing the innovation to market. In the spirit of the well-known ultimatum game, entrepreneurs from industry may make an unfair offer to academic entrepreneurs, for example, offering an 80-20 split instead of a 50-50 split, and academic entrepreneurs may well accept this offer. This seems likely because academic entrepreneurs may not prioritize financial gains and may be too willing to cede power and control of the business side of the venture. Anyway, I'll stop there. There is much more in the paper which brings together the many fascinating ideas from the previous literature relating to university startup entrepreneurs. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.